I don't know if I need to belabor the point, but you're paying $40 million to Daniel Jones at your quarterback position. And that dude, he needs to not have his job anymore, I think is the way that I would put that. And so it's just real bad. It's bad on every intercontinental level.
So, Richard, Willie and I was joking with Willie on Friday's show. This is a sign of the new frostier relations that the Trump-era United States is going to have with Europe, that we sent them Panthers-Giants as an NFL game. But, I mean, Daniel Jones, this feels like it's rock bottom. I know the fans have wanted him gone for a while. They were stuck this year, though, because of the contract. They couldn't really move on. Where does this team go from here? Is this a clean house moment, not just the QB, but maybe coach and GM too?
Daniel Jones has to be sad. It was interesting. You know, I've spent years watching football games. I've rarely seen announcers so critical of a quarterback, and they would show plays where you'd have one or two wide open receivers, and the only problem was Daniel Jones didn't throw them the ball, or if he threw them the ball, it'd be like 2 or 3 feet behind them, and then he'd get picked off twice in the red zone. This is a failed experiment. I think they've got to sit him, because if he gets injured playing the rest of the season, on top of the $40 million the Giants have to pay him, I think it's another $12 or $14 million they'd have to pay him. You know, Giants don't have a good backup. They got rid of their decent backup for reasons.
Tommy Cutlets isn't doing it for you anymore?
He's not quite doing it for me. So yeah, I think at a minimum, you know, you got to draft a quarterback. Big problem is this year's quarterback crop is not nearly as good as last year's. So I fear that the Giants are on a trajectory where we're going to be having the rebuilding conversation for many more shows.
Yeah. Jalen Milroe may be playing in New York next year. Let's go to Paul Feinbaum on that note. Paul, an up-and-down season at best for Alabama, but boy, they really did show up on Saturday night in a big way.
Yeah, we unfortunately wrote Kalen DeBoer off after the Tennessee game, Joe. But you know what he started to do? He actually cursed once or twice against Missouri and against LSU during the LSU game, and he's now becoming an Alabama coach, because that was as meaningful of a performance as I have seen by Alabama in a while, and why it was so important. The loser of the Alabama-LSU game was kaput. They were finished from the playoffs, and Alabama had a masterful performance on the other side. It was literally downright disgraceful for James Carville's team. And maybe he now will come back to college football and leave politics alone for a few days.
Yeah, you know, Paul, the thing is, again, not to get too deep in the weeds here, but what frustrated me the most is they had no offensive game plan. They're basically throwing 3 deep. It would be 3rd and 11, 3rd and 12, and you'd have Jalen go back and he'd get sacked because they bring 8 people in. Like this week, they actually started doing some pretty radical things. You put 8 in the box, we're going to dump the ball off to a running back. What a fascinating idea. We're going to throw a quick in route to a tight end. We're going to let Jalen run. And suddenly, an amazing thing happens that any JV high school football coach could tell you would happen. When you start moving the ball around, which Alabama has not done throughout the entire year, when you start moving the ball around, you can actually hand the ball off to your running back, and Jam Miller can get 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 yards and run downhill. It's kind of like they just discovered the forward pass, but what a huge difference it made.
No, I mean, he's one of the, if not the best dual threat quarterback in the country. And there was no stopping of that once it started to mix up. But what's so remarkable, Joe, we are now 1 day away from the second reveal of the college football playoff. And, you know, we thought at one time maybe the Big Ten, maybe the SEC would put 4 schools in. There is a scenario, not to get too convoluted here, where you could literally have an 8-way tie for the Southeastern Conference. Eight teams could finish with the same 6-2 record. The tiebreaker would go on ad infinitum, but it's been a remarkable year. But Alabama's comeback is probably one of the great stories, because they literally were dead after the Tennessee game, and now they have a straight path to a 10-2 season. They probably won't go to the SEC game, but you may not want to go to the SEC game as long as you grab one of these playoff berths.
Yeah, just get the playoff berth, play the first round against BYU, which is another funny story from this weekend, and you just win. Hey, Paul, finally, let's quickly talk about Ole Miss and Georgia. Of course, you and I disagreed before DeBoer was selected. I wanted Lane Kiffin. I always want Lane Kiffin. He's the best offensive mind in college football. But, man, could you believe how much Ole Miss dominated Georgia?
It was a master class. I mean, Lane Kiffin severely out-coaching Kirby Smart, the best coach in college football. Lane Kiffin has arrived now. He was always that coach, Joe, who we said, he's really good, he's funny, he's a master. Saban said he's the best offensive play caller he's ever been around. And he just put up his performance on Saturday, the best of his career. He's now one of the elite coaches in college football. He was not even called for the Alabama job, just for the record.
It's idiotic.
For whatever reason, they didn't want him around. He would have taken it, I can confirm. But he now is one of the hottest coaches in the country after what we saw Saturday, and a remarkable turnaround for a guy that literally was out on his back about 11 years ago when Southern Cal fired him on the tarmac after a loss in Arizona.
Exactly. And Pablo, I want you to write this down. I said Alabama should have hired, because we always go back to Saban. I said Alabama should have hired Kiffin, but they never were going to, for a lot of different cultural reasons.
Yes.
Pablo, we're going to get you back, Pablo. We're going to start this new thing. Are you ready for this?
What's
going to be
going
called
on?
Pop. Instead of pop culture, it's going to be Pob culture.
Oh,
Pob
wow. Hold on. Let me rename my podcast real quick. Yeah, hold on. That's better. That's better.
Pablo culture. It will sort of be like a latter-day
Vintage Morning
version
Joe.
of Scarborough Country's Hollyweird.
Or
I know
news you can't use.
up to
You
it.
said we weren't going to get into the weeds. I think I'm smelling a little bit of weeds right now. Just the vibe this morning.
I wouldn't know what that smells like.
On your side.
Never.
ESPN's Paul Feinbaum. As always, thank you so much. We listen to your show this afternoon and every afternoon. And also host of Pablo Torre Finds Out on Metal Art Media. Pablo Torre.
Thank you, Pablo.
Thank you, Pablo culture. Don't you like that?
I like
kind
it.
of like news you can't use.
Meets Hollywood.
Meets Hollyweird.
That's very good,
This
Joe.
is the future. This
You're-
is the future of Morning Joe.
Still ahead, how some Democratic governors see themselves as the guardians at the gate against Donald Trump's immigration policies. We'll explain when Morning Joe comes back in just 90 seconds.
America has indecide, and they're already deciding what to indecide next.
We've officially entered into the fever dream portion.
The Daily Show on Comedy Central, and watch next day on Paramount Plus.
Super Beta Prostate is the #1 urologist recommended prostate supplement. And now you can find it in every Walmart nationwide. Don't ignore your prostate health. Get Super Beta Prostate.
Did you know once upon a farm, refrigerated pouches are farm-fed and packed with nutrients?
I did.
They use pineapples, bananas...
Oh, don't forget dragon fruit.
and spinach.
You're really good at that.
There's no added sugar, GMOs, or preservatives.
Once kids try Once Upon a Farm, they won't stop talking about all the goodness we put inside.
Avocados, flaxseed, carrots, and spirulina!
Big changes are coming to Medicare, and your coverage could be affected. Even if you've had your plan for a while, you may need to rethink your options. Call Plan Enroll for your free Medicare coverage review. With access to plans from many leading insurance companies, our licensed insurance agents can help make sure you don't go to your doctor uncovered. They take time to learn about your needs personally. Then, when you're ready, they can help you enroll in the plan that fits you best. Take control of your coverage choices by calling Plan Enroll today.
Introducing Splenda Stevia. Grown by farmers to help people reduce sugar. Our plants are sweetened by sunshine. Grown on our farm. Enjoyed at your table.
Well, on Tuesday, we learned that Democrats actually don't know how to rig an election. But don't you guys worry. If I know Democrats, they're going to take a long look in the mirror, learn from their mistakes, and then run Biden again in 2028. During Trump's victory speech, he promised that this will truly be the golden age of America. You know, because things turn golden when the sun is setting on them. President Biden and President-elect Trump will meet in the Oval Office next week, where Biden will finally finish a sentence he started at the debate.
Oh. All right, welcome back to Morning Joe. And joining the conversation this hour, we have the host of the podcast On Brand with Donny Deutsch, editor of The New Republic, Michael Tomasky, Jonathan Lemire, and Reverend Al Sharpton are still with us as well.
I'm just curious, Donny. We read Maureen Dowd's entire piece earlier today. Thought it was great.
Word for word.
I'm curious, and a lot of focus on sort of the extreme positions that a small portion in the Washington party took. You've been talking about this for a long time. Maureen's talked about it for a long time. Reverend Al's talked about it for a long time. I'm curious, what are your thoughts as we get almost a week beyond the election?
Look, Friday I posted something on my Instagram saying exactly the same thing. This is very, very, very clear. The Democrats need to step away from woke. These things do not matter to people. You went through each one of the issues. This is not where America is. America cares about their prices. They care about immigration. They don't care about a trans athlete, playing in a sport or not playing in a sport. They don't want to hear defund the police. They don't want to sit back and watch people on campus start to say from the river to the sea and people not speak up against it. They don't want this. They care about their own lives. Democrats need to become Senocrats. New party needs to emerge.
So Donny's saying Maureen Dowd stole from him, I think.
I know.
I wrote this on Friday.
She lifted it from
Donny Deutsch's Instagram post.
Word for word. No, it's Maureen nailed it. I mean, this is This is not even a discussion anymore. This is pretty simple stuff.
Yeah. I want to talk more, though, as we have time, but I think it's not that we Democrats, and I'm a Democrat, don't care about these issues, but it's what's in the realm of realistic in a campaign at this moment in time. And I think they were out of step on a number of issues and didn't sort of respond, quite frankly, to Republican attacks. Again, what you were mentioning for weeks, which was the ad about trans surgeries for prisoners, which had a very robust and legitimate and credible and truthful response to it, and Democrats didn't take the opportunity.
And the response was this was
That's
the policy.
That's different than not caring about people who happen to be trans.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, let me rephrase. I just want to.
This was a policy. Hold on a second. This was a policy during the Trump administration. They could have very easily said, "Wait a second, she just said this at a forum in 2019,
explaining the law."
Policy. But Donny, the reason why, despite the fact Bill Clinton and so many other people called them up and said, you need to respond to this ad because it is moving black men, Hispanic men, and white working class men, radio silence from the campaign because they didn't want to touch it because it would be anti-woke. They didn't want to touch it.
They had a simple response saying, by the way, that policy came into effect under Trump. And to that, they would be implied, we're not, this is not something necessary that we're standing behind. They wouldn't do it. They were afraid of the backlash. And once again, I want to say that we're all for inclusivity and we're all for every human being represented. But there's things that are appropriate to be part of your platform in a campaign to win a popular vote. And it's that simple.
And Rev, let's go back again because you have been saying this repeatedly, that it's pretty hard for people on the far left, white people on the far left, to say, oh, you're taking these positions because you're racist or because you're hateful or this, that, or the other. When again, as Maureen said in her piece, and as polls have shown since 2016, white progressives are far to the left of even black and Hispanic voters when it comes to racial injustice.